All right, let's just make sure the YouTube is awake. Quite a morning, huh? What's up, everybody? Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. And man, all right. This is, as you guys know, Iran is happening. It is upon us. It is here. You guys have probably, if you're anything like me, you've been watching. You might have watched President Trump a little bit ago. We're going to talk about it. President Trump gave an address on Iran. We're going to discuss it a little bit. This is going to be one of those shows where if this is your first time, people are going to be like, this guy's a comedian. He just sounds really, really angry. And I have a feeling that cat is probably a court-ordered cat. He probably has to have that cat with him at all times. Lucy's face is being blocked by the microphone in the lower third, but she's right here. And yeah, people are going to think, man, I bet that cat is probably what he needs by his side all the time to not completely flip out. Yes, this is frustrating. And that's putting it gently. So a couple things have happened, as you guys know, and we're just going to jump right into it. Welcome, everybody. Good morning, good day, good afternoon, good evening. Hope you're doing well. It's a tough news cycle this week. There's no doubt about it. We're embarking on conflict that could lead to World War III. And wow. Yeah. So here's what happened. So, of course, Iran had a few airstrikes at various bases in the area. And here's what's going on so far. So Donald Trump gave an address today. Here's what he had to say. Trump says that new sanctions on Iran, but U.S. ready to embrace peace. Okay, hopefully embracing peace doesn't mean they're going to assassinate somebody else. But let's see what's going on so far. So Iran launched missile strikes late Tuesday against two Iraqi military bases that house U.S. forces in retaliation for the airstrike that killed Iranian General Qassem Soleimani last week. More than a dozen ballistic missiles targeted the El Assad and Erbil bases, the Pentagon has said. There have been no indication from U.S. officials of any American casualties from the strikes, in spite of Iranian claims to have killed dozens. Iraqi officials have said none of their troops were killed or injured. So there's various speculation there on what casualties there may or may not be. And I guess we're still waiting to see what actually happened there. Iran's supreme leader called his country's missile strike a slap to the Americans, but said Iran's real revenge will be forcing the U.S. to pull out of the region. Foreign Minister Javad Zarif said Iran does not seek escalation or war, but will defend ourselves against any aggression. All right. So here's what Trump had to say. Trump says, as long as I am president of the United States, Iran will never be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. Addressing the nation for the first time after Iran's missile attack on U.S. troops in Iraq, Trump said he would not allow the Iranian regime to obtain nuclear weapons and indicated he was willing to de-escalate the situation in the Middle East. As long as I am president of the United States, this is a Trump quote, Iran will never be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. Lucy, I know you're not a big fan of war. I get it. I get it. You're not a big fan. He also slammed the Iran nuclear deal from which the U.S. withdrew in 2018 and called on allies to leave it. They must now break away from the remnants of the Iran deal. You know, that thing that was working out. The thing that was working out. Obama did a lot of horrible things. Foreign and domestic when he was president, but that wasn't one of them. The Iran deal, for the most part, was working out. And there was some amount of peace, at least a little bit, comparatively speaking. But we threw all that out. Mr. Trump said he suggested that he would be willing to make a new deal with Iran that makes the world safer. He said Iran can be a great country if it stops sponsoring terrorism in the Middle East. So, according to 53 minutes ago, Trump announces fresh sanctions on Iran. President Trump announced Wednesday, that's today as of the recording of this, the U.S. will impose powerful sanctions on Iran, which will remain in place until the regime changes its behavior. He said no Americans were harmed in Tuesday night's attack, and only minimal damage was sustained at our military bases. He said Iran appeared to be standing down. Mr. Trump also touted increased military spending under his administration and called on NATO to help the U.S. in its diplomatic efforts in Iran. Keep in mind, He got billions more than he even asked for with the help of the Democrats. Donald Trump got billions in military spending, more than he even asked for, and now he's using it. And what's he using it to do? Assassinate people in other countries, illegally assassinate people in other countries to provoke a war and to provoke Iran to retaliate and to abandon any amount of peace and diplomacy we might have had with that country. He finished his remarks by speaking directly to the people of Iran. We want you to have a future, and a great future, one that you deserve. The United States is ready to embrace peace with all who seek it. Oh, man, that's it's like a bully, like going up and just sucker punching somebody, and then when they like fight back a little bit, you're like, all right, we're ready to seek diplomacy now. Didn't you just sucker punch me? Yeah, but now we're ready to seek peace if you want it. If you want to de-escalate this. All right. So also, according to this, top Republicans call for unity after Iran attacks Iraqi bases. Okay. Keep in mind, that's the only time bipartisanship actually works usually, is when it's acts of war. That's usually the time you see Democrats and Republicans actually working together. Hey, let's give billions more for military spending than Donald Trump even asked for. Then we'll call him presidential when he drops bombs on Syria. And then we won't really refute when he does stuff like this. And keep in mind, just for the record, most of the 2020 candidates didn't really call this out. Joe Biden, maybe the worst response to them all, said he's not going to comment until we know more. You know what that's code for? I'm not really opposed to what's going on. And this is something else that happened. And this is something else where we're still kind of waiting to see the details of what really happened. A plane went down. So here's what happened there. No survivors as Ukrainian Boeing plane crashes in Iran with 176 people on board. A Ukrainian airliner crashed shortly after takeoff from Tehran on Wednesday, bursting into flames and killing all 176 people on board. The Boeing 737 crashed hours after Iran fired missiles at bases housing U.S. forces in Iraq. And officials said speculation about what happened was premature. Carrier Ukraine International Airlines said the plane was last serviced 2 days ago. Okay, so among the victims were 82 Iranians, 63 Canadians, 11 Ukrainians, 10 Swedes, 3 Germans, and 3 Britons. The Ukrainian foreign minister said. A passenger list here from the airline showed members of the same family were killed. Children were on board, and many passengers were under 35. A newlywed couple that had gone to Iran to get married were among the Canadian victims. It's really sad. That's very sad. So Ukraine will send a team of experts on Iran today. They're going to be investigating the crash, probably as this stream's going on. That's happening. He said U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said the United States was calling for complete cooperation with the investigation. Under international rules, responsibility for investigating the crash lies with Iran, and Iranian state television said both of the plane's black box voice and data recorders had been found. Interesting. So, I guess they're wondering. Iran had earlier fired missiles at the bases housing U.S. forces in Iraq in retaliation for the U.S. drone strikes. And now they're wondering if this could or could not be related. And what they're saying right now, safety experts say airliner accidents rarely have a single cause, and that it typically takes months of investigation to understand all the factors behind them. All right. Now, I guess at one point they said that it was just an engine failure, and now they recanted that. So an official at Ukraine's embassy in Tehran said Iranian authorities had asked it to rescind an initial statement from Iran based on preliminary information that had blamed the accident on engine failure. So in short, a plane went down. We don't exactly know why. We don't exactly know why. So, I don't want to say anything prematurely, but missiles were being fired around the same time. Are those two things related? Well, we don't know for sure one way or another. Trump is calling for more sanctions on Iran. And I watched part of his address. I didn't watch all of it. And I don't know. I think it was pretty bad. I mean, what can you say? It was pretty bad. He spent most of the time. Just saying how dangerous this guy was. Saying Soleimani is a terrorist. He was going to do this. He was going to do that. He was planning to attack us. We have no evidence of any of this. We have no evidence he was planning something against the United States on United States soil. No evidence, just like we had no evidence of weapons of mass destruction. No evidence whatsoever. Trump spent a long time just babbling on about that. He spent a long time babbling about the stuff this guy was doing. But yeah, this guy, and I think Bernie Sanders had a good quote where he was just like, look, we can't just assassinate people from other countries, call them terrorists or call them whatever we want, and just go and assassinate them. We can't do that. That flaunts international law. So that's what we know so far. As of the recording of this, that's what we know so far. And man, it's hard to feel great today, right? Don't you think? Kind of hard to feel great. Kind of hard to feel good. Kind of hard to not be like, what the hell? Like what the hell is going on? You've got to be kidding me. And there was nothing remotely encouraging. The one slightly remotely encouraging thing is that apparently both sides, Iran and the United States, are open for talks of de-escalation. They're saying, let's talk about this. Here's hoping, right? I mean, here's hoping, because who knows? I mean, even when Trump talks, like, you have to take it with a grain of salt, because this guy is just the puppet being pulled by the strings of the warmongers he's surrounded himself with. So who knows? Who knows what he might tweet an hour later? It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that this is our leadership. This is what our country does. And we just passively, I mean, how long? Nobody in the country wants this economy of war. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants it. People on the left don't want it. People on the right don't want it. The only people who want it are the people who are benefiting from it financially, or the people licking the boots of the people who benefit from it financially. Those are the only people. This is between the haves and the have-nots. There's a lot of people who voted for Trump because he said he was going to be a non-interventionist. It was a lie. It was ridiculous. And while he was saying that, Hillary Clinton was talking about how she wanted to obliterate Iran. Which, by the way, that brings me to something else that should be talked about. This is an open letter to everybody on Twitter this morning. No one gives a shit who you voted for almost 4 years ago. No one gives a shit. Get over yourself. No one cares. I mean, there's a hashtag. I mean, I voted for Hillary. Well, I voted for... No one cares who you voted for almost 4 years ago. No matter who it was. Whether it was Hillary Clinton, whether it was Gary Johnson, whether it was Jill Stein. No one cares. No one cares. Whether it was Donald Trump. No one gives a shit. No one gives a shit. We got to look forward. Unbelievable. We're about to embark on a world war, and people are patting themselves on the back over what they did in a ballot box almost 4 years ago. It's so elementary and stupid. It's unbelievable. Ugh. That, and they're making jokes about Trump might be addicted to Adderall. Trump, man. There are 1,000,005 things I dislike about Donald Trump. It nauseates me that he is president. But first of all, if the guy uses Adderall, he probably needs it. I mean, if we're being real here, if President Trump does use Adderall, which, by the way, just saying President Trump almost causes me to vomit in my mouth a little bit. But if the guy uses Adderall, he probably needs it. I mean, the dude watches cable news all freaking day, tweets the rest of the day, has the eating habits of a 5-year-old child. He could probably use Adderall to draw his attention to whatever it is he should be focusing on. Which, you know, unfortunately, the dude has a little bit of power. He's the president. I'm saving the world because I make Donald Trump is addicted to Adderall and I voted 4 years ago. I'm saving the world. Don't worry about the world war. Hashtag I voted for Hillary Clinton. Who cares? I mean, unbelievable. And by the way, and again, that applies to everyone, no matter who you voted for, by the way. That's not just directed at people who voted for Hillary Clinton. That's directed at people who voted, well, I didn't vote for either of them. So blah, blah, blah. Look, no one, voting's not going to get us out of this mess, first of all. It's going to take a lot more than just showing up to a ballot box, especially if you only show up to the ballot box for presidential races. It's going to take a lot more than that. It's going to take a movement, and a damn big one, because we have an entire economy based around war. And who participated in it? George W. Bush, Ronald Reagan, Bush the First, Barack Obama, Donald Trump. They all did. So it's going to take, we're not going to be able to vote our way out of it. We do have actual peace candidates in 2020. That does exist. Right, Lucy? We have Bernie Sanders. We have Tulsi Gabbard. We have candidates who, yes, would take us in a better direction. But it's going to take a lot more than just casting a vote, because you're still going to have the war machine behind the scenes. All right. But I'll tell you what. There is one thing we can take solace in. One thing we can take solace in is that we do have some great leaders to look forward to. Look, you know who really has her thumb on the pulse of everything that's going on and is really going to get us out of this mess? Liz Warren. Check this out. Liz gets it. Look, check this. This is awesome, by the way. Check this out. Liz gets it. Look at this. So Julian Castro endorses Liz Warren because, you know, candidates who lie about their support for Medicare for all stick together. But check this out. She gets it.
I'm going to talk a little bit, for any of you who don't know me, tell you a little bit about myself.
First of all, who is going to a rally for somebody where they don't even know who she is? That just screams inspiration right there. So for anyone who doesn't have a clue who I am, for anyone who's missed all of my milquetoast performances at every debate, for anyone who hasn't been paying attention to the fact that I flip-flop on policy on a daily basis, for anyone who's not hip to the fact that the only thing politically I was ever consistent at more than a week was being Republican. I did that for a while. Everything else, depending on the week, I might switch. Let me tell you a little bit about me. Here we go.
I'm going to do this. I'm going to tell you a little bit about why I'm in this fight. And then we're going to do something historic, right in the center of democracy. Julian and I, for the first time in history, we're going to stand here and do double selfies. And everybody's
Oh, my God.
So here's what we're going to do now.
We don't need to watch. World War III. We're embarking on World War III. Double selfies. Double selfies. Liz Warren's gonna take. Like, are we in a cartoon? Like, is somebody? Every now and again, do you ever find yourself walking down the street and just going like this, being like, "There's no way it's this ridiculous. There's no way that we just assassinated somebody in Iran, that the corporate media is lying to us the same way they lied to us about Iraq, that Donald Trump is the commander-in-chief babbling about just a bunch of nothing, and that the potential opposition to him is talking about double selfies. There's no way that is real. There's no way that, I haven't seen all of The Watchmen. This transition will make sense soon, I promise you. But I started watching The Watchmen, and I only got through the first episode. So keep that in mind that I don't know all that happened. But it's supposed to be a dystopian story. And in some ways it is, but in other ways, and this isn't a spoiler here, so don't worry about that. But in other ways, all right, first of all, the police are not over-militarized. They need to get permission before they can use their weapons. They need to go through a screening process before they get access to their guns, first of all. Second of all, they're actually against white supremacists. As opposed to the police being white supremacists themselves, which, by the way, yes, there are registered KKK members in our police force. Anonymous revealed that to us years ago. Nothing's been done about it. So, is it really all that dystopian? My point is, it's like sometimes these dystopian fictions actually, in some ways, would be an improvement in reality. Now, I've only watched the first episode, so maybe it's like, no, Ron, actually, it's not that. That all ends up being a facade. I don't know yet. Don't spoil it for me. I'm not spoiling it for you. Don't spoil it for me. I'm just saying, I noticed that. Like, I was like, well, actually, their police is less militarized than ours, and they're fighting white supremacists as opposed to, being among them. So I don't know. Anyway, yeah, again, only see the first episode. There might be some big elaborate plot that they're in. You get my point, though. The theme is, as Bad Religion said, as Greg Graffin said, one of my favorite musicians and one of my favorite academics too. There aren't a lot of academics I'm a fan of. It's a short list. So Greg Graffin's on that list. I mean, there are some. There's Michael Hudson. There's Noam Chomsky. There's Stephanie Kelton. There's, I'm going to forget a bunch. So why should I even keep going? I'm gonna forget. There's Janet Lyon. I'm a fan of hers. Yeah, whatever. We don't need to keep going. We don't need to keep going. Cornell West. Do you still count like someone at that level? Do you still count them as an academic, or are they kind of something different at that point? That's a topic for a different day. A Cornell West, Noam Chomsky. Do you still call them an academic, or do you? Yeah, I don't. But anyway, Liz Warren, double selfies. Double selfie. You almost feel a little bad for almost. I don't feel bad for her because she's, kind of she's just trying to take votes away from Bernie so it goes to a second ballot. That's what she's doing. I'm sorry. That's it. That's what she's doing. But you almost she comes across as your really boring aunt who you don't like talking to, but you force conversation with, because it's like, how is a human being this boring? That's what she comes across as. She comes across as like, as one of those family where you're just like, have you ever done anything interesting in your life? Have you ever done that? And then she just found out what a selfie was a week and a half ago. And you're like, you're really not that old. You didn't know what a selfie was? She's like, I know what a selfie is. And now she's taking double selfies with Julian Castro, who, by the way, he does not look all that thrilled. Here, we're not going to watch the whole thing again. In fact, let's watch it with the sound off, because we're just looking for Julian here. See if they show Castro. Here, wait. Where is he? They show him. He does not look like super thrilled, like, oh man, I'm totally double selfies. I'm into it. Whatever. It's not loading now. It's not important. But anyway, we're going to do double selfies, and then people cheer. Oh wait, here, it's back. Where is he? There he is. Look. He does not look thrilled. He does not look at that. Look at that. Does that face say I'm inspired? Does that, I definitely made the right endorsement. It's like he knows what's coming. She came up to him and she's like, I got it. Double selfies. And then all of her campaign was like, Lucy, I get it. You think double selfies are stupid too. By the way, I got one of the coolest gifts ever. I got a pair of socks with pictures of Lucy on them. It's amazing. I have Lucy socks now. My first question to my fiance, who bought the socks for me, was, is it cool if I wear this to our wedding? To which she responded, well, I mean, if you want to, which I'm not married yet, but I'm still picking up on some things. That was code for, no, please don't wear those to our wedding. And I'm like, okay, I get it. They don't match. Is that what you're telling me? Just say they don't match and you prefer I don't wear them. And she's like, well, we'll get you a pair that matches. So we're looking into getting me a blue pair of Lucy socks so it matches the suit that I'm going to wear for my wedding. And some would say that my fiance is an enabler in this situation. They might be right. But I really want to wear socks that have my cat on them. I don't really care about socks that much. I don't pay much attention to them. Half the time, I don't bother matching them. So the idea of having socks with my cats on them, that means a lot to me. My cat, singular. It's just, there's a bunch of pictures of her. Okay. So anyway, he doesn't look swayed. Like they told him, who's inspired by this? I mean, the crowd cheered because it's her people, but like, what the hell? Hey guys, we're gonna do double selfie. Do you know what just happened in Iran, Liz? Double selfies, and then there was footage of her dancing, and I'm sure. I mean, I didn't see everything she said. I didn't see her entire speech, so maybe she did talk about what was going on. Some, maybe she didn't. I don't know. But when an illegal assassination occurs and U.S. bases are being attacked, that's not the time for dancey time. That's not dancey time, Liz. It's not dance time. That's like when George W. Bush did something like that, where he was dancing. Louis Black had a famous bit about it, where he's like, yeah, you don't dance around when something, like, I forget all the details, but he's like, you put on a frowny face, Mr. President. That was what Louis Black was saying. Oh man. Double selfies. Double selfies. That's she's not for Medicare for all, but she's for double selfies for all. Look at Julian Castro. Look at him. He looks like somebody's forcing him to be there. He looks like there is somebody behind him with a gun pointed into his spine going, you better be excited about the double selfies, Julian. You better be excited because this is what we have. This is all we bring to the table. We bring no ideas. We bring no perspectives. Now, Liz Warren on The View the other day failed under scrutiny one time against Meghan McCain. She crumbled. She was starting to kind of get it right that, hey, we can't assassinate this guy and just call whoever we want terrorists. But then Meghan McCain, big old Meghan McCain, and Liz Warren couldn't push back against Meghan McCain. She's like, yeah, he's a terrorist. Okay, Meghan. She can't push back against Meghan McCain. Please tell me how she's going to beat Trump. Can't push back against Meghan McCain. Can't handle hecklers. Liz Warren can't do that. Please tell me how she's going to beat Trump. Unbelievable. Now, the other time, she just ignored Meghan McCain, and she started talking about the wealth tax. And I don't know if you saw that clip, but she actually did an okay job there. Liz Warren is getting mildly better at repeating Bernie's policies. That's the one compliment I can give her on the one segment in The View, and the other segment, she just caved completely. But in one segment on The View, she actually did a mildly good job at pushing back. Or not pushing back. She didn't push back. She just made her point. She did a good job at repeating Bernie's policies. So there's that. Double selfies. That'll get us out of this mess. Double selfies. Guys, we have a little bit of good news from Linus over on the Reddit subsection. I knew today was going to be not so happy. Again, there's a time for a frowny face. When is there a time for a frowny face? When we're instigating a world war. That's a time for a frowny face. When we're continuing the war machine right in the open, and it's just a repeat of the same soundtrack from Iraq. And guess what? It's a similar soundtrack that they did from Vietnam to present. We have an economy based on war, but we have a choice. We don't have to accept it. We can fight this thing. We can turn the tide. And when we turn the tide, you know what's going to happen inevitably? The United States is not going to be an empire anymore. We're going to just be another country. That's going to happen. And when it does, the world will be a better place. But we have a choice. We have a choice. Maybe, and we have a chance. We're not guaranteed success, but we have a chance and we have a choice to try to just turn that wheel, to try to turn the wheel so that we step down as an empire. We have a chance and a choice to do that. We're not guaranteed success. We might do everything right and still fail. We might. And I know you don't have any power. I don't either. I'm just a guy on YouTube. But we got to at least show up in the streets. And we got to at least, make the right decisions at the ballot box. And not... Anyway, my point is today's show was going to be a downer. How could it not be? How could I could have just been like, you know what? Screw it. I'm getting, guys, I can't, not today. We are going to exclusively look at news from TMZ. That's what we're going to do. We're only going to look at stuff from, and no offense, it's just pop culture. That's what they do, right? That's what they do. So it's like, we're just going to look at what insert celebrity's name here said about insert another celebrity's name here. I did a segment on TMZ once, and I was shocked they invited me back. It's like I had no idea who any of these people were. I'd like to think I pay attention, but I really filter what I pay attention to. And I had no idea who these celebrities were that I was supposed to talk about. So I wrote these jokes. I'm guessing they were okay. And I did them. Some people laughed. But I had no idea. It was like I had just learned that day. Because I did. Like, I was like, I don't know who these, I don't know. I just Googled some shit and then wrote some jokes. And the person who got me the spot, he was like, hey, how did your segment go? I was like, I have no idea. First of all, those segments, they're like 30 seconds long. So how do you really even know? And second of all, again, I had no, but they invited me back. I guess it didn't go terrible. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure you can find that if you dig hard enough for it online. It's out there. But yeah, it's a couple years ago. Brown says, getting back before we get off the Liz Warren thing. Brown says that Julian Castro looks like his mother made him go to church. Here, wait, let me bring up that photo one more time because that's really good. Oh, crap. I lost it. Here, wait, let me see if I can get back to it. Yes, I can. All right, perfect. I deleted the link. Here we go. Let's see if, wait, we lost the still. It went all willy-nilly on its own. Here, wait, let's wait for the still. There it is. There. He looks like his mother made him go to church. That's what Brown says, and I think that's 100% right on. Thank you for that, Brown. All right, so Linus over on the Reddit gave us some good news, and I thought we needed a little bit of something uplifting and positive to end the stream today because, World War III, not happy. That's frowny face time, as Lewis Black would say. So check this out. This is something cool. This is from a little bit ago, but this is an important thing to look at, especially with some of the stuff that we talk about on this show. Finland ends homelessness and provides shelter for all in need. So now I don't think they completely ended it, but they've really made a lot of strides. Here's what's happening here. I don't know if there's absolutely no homeless people in Finland. I don't know. I think that'd be very difficult to accomplish. Maybe they did, but I think here's what's going on. In Finland, the number of homeless people has fallen sharply. The reason: the country applies the housing first concept. Those affected by homelessness receive a small apartment and counseling without any preconditions. 4 out of 5 people affected thus make their way back into a stable life. And all of this is cheaper than accepting homelessness. I mean, just think about that just initially. If you don't have a house, everything is a challenge. Obviously, if you don't have a house, you don't have a place to live. I mean, just right there, your ability to do anything else is so greatly compromised. And, all right, so In 2008, the Finnish government introduced a new policy for the homeless, housing first. And this has been successful. It is the only EU country where the number of homeless people is declining. How is everyone given a residence in Finland? It is the NGOs such as the Y Foundation that provide housing for people in need. They take care of the construction themselves, buy flats on the private housing market, and renovate existing flats. The apartments have 1 to 2 rooms. In addition to that, former emergency shelters have been converted into apartments in order to offer long-term housing. Homeless people turn into tenants with a tenancy agreement. They also have to pay rent and operating costs. Social workers who have offices in the residential building help with financial issues such as applications for social benefits. So they help these people get what they are entitled to. That's essentially what they're doing. We could do something like this in the United States. Any country could do something like this. Especially here in the United States. We have the space for it. We have more than enough space for it. So the policy applied is called Housing First. It reverses conventional homeless aid. More commonly, those affected are expected to look for a job and free themselves from their psychological problems or addiction. Only then they can get help finding accommodation. Housing First, on the other hand, reverses the path. Homeless people get a flat without any preconditions, and social workers help them get the benefits they need. In such a new, secure situation, it is easier for those affected to find a job and take care of their physical and mental health. And what are the results of that? 4 out of 5 homeless people will be able to keep their flat for a long time with Housing First and lead a more stable life. So the people who are on the streets and who are suffering from conditions that prohibit them from being able to hold down a job or get a house, which, by the way, in the United States, 44% of homeless people have a job, by the way. But the ones that don't because they can't, they're sick and they need help. And if we put a shelter over them and got them counseling, that would be a significant step for them, as opposed to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. And for the 44% of homeless people who already have a job, giving them a Housing First initiative where you put them in housing, where you get them the benefits they're entitled to, and you help them rebuild their lives with the job they already have, well, that's going to be a big step. And that's going to be a big step to solving our society. Now, of course, living wages are a huge issue too, because nobody who works an honest job in the United States shouldn't be able to afford a place to live. Nobody. That shouldn't happen. If you're working an honest job, you should be able to survive. End of story. End of freaking story. Especially when CEOs make 475 times that of the average worker. 475 times to 1. There's a problem. There's a huge problem. Full stop. But, trying to keep it to housing for the sake of this segment, this is totally right on. Housing first. That's the way to go. It's working. Now, I know I have ruffled some feathers when I said that in principle, I am against private property. I am. Now, what I mean by that is that if I was starting a society from scratch, I would just guarantee housing as a human right. And the way I would guarantee that is that housing would kind of be orchestrated and facilitated by the state. We would all be renters. We would all pay into the system for a certain amount of time. After that time is over, then you just pay fees and upkeep. Like you'd be a renter for, say, 30 years, which is a typical mortgage, by the way. After 30 years, you only have to pay fees and upkeep of wherever it is you're living. There'd be different types of housing. If you have more means, obviously you'd have a bigger house than somebody who doesn't have as many means. What I'm saying is, if I was starting a society from scratch, that's what I would do. What I'm not saying, just for a quick disclaimer here, what I'm not saying is, hey, did you buy a house? You're part of the problem. I'm not saying that. That's ridiculous. Some of my friends have actually texted me and they're like, are you saying we shouldn't have bought our house? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about a principle where if I was building a society from scratch, that's what I would do. Obviously, that's not the society we live in. Obviously, that's not a change that I will see in my lifetime. So I'm not saying that if you participate in the market we were all born into, you're part of the problem. That's not what I'm saying at all. I myself, if I ever had an opportunity to buy property, I live in Southern California, so it's not in my short-term vision at all. But if I was ever in a situation where buying a house or an apartment or well, not apartment, you know what I mean, a condo or whatever, where that made sense, I would do it. Like that. That's not what I'm getting at here. But what I'm saying is, in our existing system, we can still put housing first. And housing should be a human right. And in Finland, they're going that route. They're making that happen in Finland. And we can make that happen in our system too. We can make that happen in our system too. We just choose not to. The powers that be choose it. We can't even get rent control. This is what they're doing in Finland. In the United States, we can't even get rent control. In California, we couldn't get rent control. The supposed progressive utopia of California. It's not, by the way. I've lived around. I lived in the Northwest. I lived in Tennessee. I've lived in Pennsylvania. I've lived in Indiana. I've lived in Seattle, Washington. I've lived in Los Angeles, California. I got to tell you, as far as there being progressive utopias in the United States, it doesn't exist. There is no actual progressive place in the United States. It just doesn't exist. Yeah, you have places where socially they're a little further along. Generally, some of the most progressive people I know live in Tennessee. Some of the most progressive people I know still live in Indiana. So it's a generalization. But generally speaking, do I feel like I fit in a little bit more in Seattle and Southern California compared to those other places in general? Yeah, but it's not like there's some progressive utopia. So my point is that we're still so far from getting to something like what Finland's getting to, and it's a nationwide thing. And this is the type of change that starts in your backyard. This is the type of change where if you really had a city council that really wanted to tackle housing and said, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it, this is the jobs it's going to bring. First of all, I'm one of those people, I'm willing to speak the language of the pro-business government people when I have to. That's why I'm trying to get municipal broadband in Pasadena, city-owned internet. And I'm not shying away from saying this is an investment. This is a business investment. This will benefit businesses in the community. This will benefit investment from future small businesses. This will benefit our footprint in show business. I'm willing to say that because it's the truth. It is true. Not only is it morally a good thing to do because it assures a free and open internet and it's essential for the exchange of information. Not only does it help the people and provide people with quality internet at a more reasonable price, but it's also an investment for the community. Similarly, housing. Not only is it morally the right thing to do, that's the most important part, it's morally the right thing to do. Not only does it treat people like human beings, not only is it something we can afford to do many times over, but it's also an investment into a community. It brings about jobs. There's going to be jobs for counselors. There's going to be jobs for, people to upkeep the maintenance on these buildings, to facilitate these buildings. There's going to be jobs for people to go out on the streets and find the people that need help. Instead of doing what San Francisco did, which, by the way, supposedly progressive utopia, San Francisco, instead of having robots out on the streets trying to antagonize the homeless and chase them off, why not have people on the streets who go out there and try to find people who need help, who maybe is suffering from significant schizophrenia or something like that, and getting them into a facility where they can get help and treatment? Imagine that job. That job where you help somebody, where your job is to take somebody off the street and put them into a real facility that's going to help them with counselors. That'd be a hell of a cool gig, wouldn't it? And it's not some crazy utopian dream. It's something that they're already doing in Finland. And if they can do it in Finland, they can certainly do it in the richest country in the world. So, there's that. Here's to a better tomorrow, right? At least that's a little uplifting. At least, there's somewhere in the world that's showing us, that's setting a good example. At least that's happening. Guys, tour dates, I got them. I'm coming to your city, and I can't wait to see you. Let's go through it. January 25th, Santa Clarita, California. February 8th, Tucson, Arizona. February 29th, San Francisco, California. March 12th, Orlando, Florida. March 14th, Miami, Florida. March 13th, Tampa. Hold tight, we're coming. What else? Man, April 10th, I'll be in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You know it. April 24th, Seattle, Washington. April 25th, Portland, Oregon. May 14th, Indianapolis, Indiana. May 15th, Detroit, Michigan. May 16th, Cleveland. Hold tight. Tickets are coming. June 19th, Louisville, Kentucky. June 20th, Nashville, Tennessee. Tickets are coming real soon. Hold tight. June 21st, Atlanta, Georgia. Tickets are coming too soon. Hold tight. July 11th, Chicago, Illinois. Tickets are available now. July 12th, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Tickets are available now. And September 10th, New York City. We're coming. Tickets aren't available yet, but they'll be available soon. But mark your calendar, New York City, September 10th. We're coming. And it looks like Boston will probably be the next night, September 11th. Still finalizing the details there, but we're coming. We're working on it. All the tickets that are available now, ronplacone.com. More dates are going to be announced very, very soon. If you want to support this show on the sustainability end, please do consider becoming a patron. I'm trying to do mini documentaries this year, but I do need some help in getting to that goal because I'm going to be collaborating with Right Brain Studios. They need to be compensated for their time and their efforts. They're a production company. You know, they can't just do stuff for free. They need to sustain their organization. They need to sustain their company. They need to keep the lights on. So I do need your help to make all that happen. Patreon.com/Ron Placone. Even $1 a month goes a long way. And what do you get besides helping the show expand? What do you get? You get my album in its entirety for download. You just get to download my album. You get full dialogues between myself and Lucy. You get stand-up clips that aren't available anywhere else. Unreleased stand-up clips unavailable anywhere else. You get a patron stream once a week where I only take suggestions from the patrons, and the stream is only available on Patreon. If you are so able, patreon.com/Ron Placone. Even $1 a month goes a long way. If you are not able, I totally get it. Please like these videos, share, subscribe. That goes a long, long way, and you're helping support this show. And don't just do that for me. Do that for all the content creators you know and love. Watch the ads in a separate window, because if you don't do that, we don't get paid. So please do that for myself and all the other YouTube creators that you know and love. Guys, thank you so much for being part of this. Thank you for helping me feel a little bit better about the world. God, it's you know, it's nice, you know, Finland, it's at least we ended on something a little bit uplifting, right? But here's hoping that things start to de-escalate, and you know, we'll be back tomorrow. And in the meantime, you know the drill. Lucy says meow, I say peace. Peace.